Michael Waltrip in second, but it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from 6th to 1st and score the victory with a Pepsi 400.
That's unbelievable.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. didn't talk about anything much beyond racing early in his career. He worried about public criticism as a shy young man who lost his father in the most public way imaginable, a father whose ability and persona he could not match. And the introvert had another reason to avoid engaging in conversation.
You know, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about when I was sitting in locking myself up in a bus playing Madden all weekend between driving the race car and then going home and sitting in the house and doing the same thing.
Dale Jr. could sit in his house and never come out if he wanted to these days. He doesn't need the money, he doesn't need the fame, but he needs racing. He grew up with it. It is all he and his family have ever known. From the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, Dale Jr. loves the sport more than he loves to win. As the motorsports industry celebrates his induction into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Dale Jr.'s legacy continues to take shape. Sure, he enjoyed a great career on track with 26 victories, including 2 Daytona 500s, and being voted most popular driver for 15 consecutive years. But his legacy continues to evolve more as a TV commentator, a car owner, a mentor, a podcast host, and a concussion awareness advocate.
Man, if I could continue to broadcast and go 10, 15 years down the road and someone say, man, you were great behind the wheel of a car, but the broadcasting, you really made the races fun to watch or made me a huge fan of the sport because of that. That'd be a great compliment. I'm happy to have an impact any way, shape or form really in the sport, whether it's a broadcaster, owner, or behind the wheel.
While the car owner part came relatively naturally, Earnhardt's role as a television analyst and podcast host didn't appear to be a natural fit until he had to sit out the second half of the 2016 season because of concussions. After realizing the power and impact of being able to tell his story through a podcast, he decided to co-host his own podcast, wanting to know more about the journey of those he raced against, as well as those he only knew from afar.
I think for Dale, he loves that atmosphere. He enjoys people feeling like they're part of what his journey is. I think he takes that very serious, that he's bringing people along with him on his journey. And he's not afraid to say that he's had his challenges.
Drivers tend to open up with Dale Jr. on his podcast, maybe knowing that he has shared so much and wanting to join in the ride, while also knowing that Dale Jr. might not be as quick to judge them. After all, Dale Jr. knows what it's like to be judged. He wasn't born with the intimidator persona displayed by his iconic father. When the 7-time Cup champion died in a crash on the final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500, millions of devastated fans looked to Dale Jr. to fill the void. Those fans eventually saw a different Earnhardt, one who left the race team built by his father after a dispute with his stepmother at a time when he seemed uncomfortable with the spotlight and the drama. He eventually became more forthcoming as he started doing more things outside the racetrack with the person who would become his wife.
My wife Amy changed me a lot and trying to get me to get out and experience things more. And the more I got out and experienced things, I had more to say.
He gets to share those experiences with a national television audience as an analyst for NBC, a role he moved into just months after his full-time driving career ended.
As odd as it sounds, Dale craves to be normal. He craves to be the guy that when you look at him, whether that's on TV or as a race car driver, he wants you to look at him as the same as what you are.
Maybe that's why Earnhardt once described himself in his Twitter bio as a retired dealership service mechanic.
I'm a normal guy that just has this really interesting experience. And I think that when you're kind of transparent and open about how you feel and think and approach things, whether you're scared, nervous, excited, happy, whatever that emotion is, right? That's something, that's people can relate to that. And it makes people understand that you are normal. You're just the same as everybody else, and you have the same fears and same insecurities and have sort of these personal battles between being motivated and determined and making good choices in your life.
Those choices can range from explaining on his podcast how he chose to ease his wife's pain from a jellyfish sting. Yes, he did what you're thinking. To being critical of a driver or NASCAR official's decision while commentating on a race. Dale Jr. has the unique ability to relate to the 40-year-old father of two fabricating a car and the 18-year-old aspiring driver. What's next? Dale Jr. isn't totally sure how his role in the sport will evolve. All he wants to do is to make a difference in connecting with fans and improving the sport along the way.
He can go, live on a boat somewhere or, find a vacation home and stay there, but he's just passionate about NASCAR. He enjoys the sport, and I think he's been around long enough where it's his life. And I think when you do something for that long of a period of time, it's hard to step away from it.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Coliseum.
On February 6th, the Clash opens the NASCAR season in the fabled LA Coliseum. And on February 20th, the Daytona 500 returns on Fox.
Hey race fans, thanks for watching our video. For all NASCAR on Fox news, content, and the best clips from Fox Sports, be sure to follow and subscribe to our channel.